All right. Welcome, everyone. We are here on this great afternoon on Saturday, the 21st, for A.R.M Outreach Monthly Community Webinar. And we have a special guest on today. But what we're going to do before I announce him is we're going to just give a few moments for some of you all to join in with us and give you an opportunity to share this broadcast, share it to your page. I see a few viewers clicking in now. Share it to your page, share it to a friend or family. And so we're just going to give just a few moments there before we actually get into this phenomenal session on today. This is going to be an awesome one. I am extremely excited about this one. And so we'll give just a few moments here. I see a few people clicking in. Continue to click in and share it. Yes, continue to click in and share. Yes. Okay, awesome. Yes, take your time because we have a few moments here just to let everyone get an opportunity to join in with us. Hello, I see you all. All right. Yep. Okay. Just put the title there. All right. I'm gonna share it to a few of my pages also. You all just share. I know there's some people that need some education on home buying. There's some people that are interested in purchasing homes and want to know the process and everything. We have the man just for you on today. Yes, indeedy, we do. So go ahead on and let your friends know to jump in because it's going to be phenomenal. It is going to be phenomenal. And we're going to get ready to get started in just a quick moment.
I'm just wondering if you can share it on mine because I'm having problems sharing.
Yes.
Can you share?
Okay. Which one you want me to do it on? You're both?
Yeah, you can do it with Fedman Real Estate if you're able to.
Okay.
Let me just see if I can do this going a lot slow now.
Let's see. Okay. Let me see. So, okay. So, Feder, let me see. I don't think I have the option so what you would do is hit that share button down there, right there on the video at the end, at the bottom, share. And then when you push that, it's going to go to your page.
Yeah, for some reason, because I'm online with you.
Okay. Okay, let me see. I think let me see. I should be able to. Let me see if I can. Let me see. Yes. Okay. Hold on. Let me see. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll get one of Abundant Rain Ministry. If one of you all are on, do us a favor and please share this video to Feder Joseph page. And then your other page is Fed Man Information what is that, Feder? Fed Man Information Real Estate. Oh, let me see. I think I have I have the option. Let me see. No, I don't know why it's not. Yeah. Okay. Let me see what you are. Does someone, let's see. I don't, yeah, it's okay though, but we're gonna
I
get
think
this
we got it.
through.
I think we got it. I think we got it.
You got it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It should definitely, yeah. Let's
Let me
see.
bring it up.
You have it?
I think so.
Okay. Oh, the process and everything. We have the guide. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So it looks like it's shared.
Let's see. Someone shared it.
I'm ready to get
What
started.
you say? Okay, someone shared it.
Okay, it's on my page. So
Okay, well that's all. That's what we want. So that's good. That's all right. It happens. Anytime we do all this technical, it's fine. But we give it a few moments. So we need some. We got an audience building up, so it's all good. All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead on and jump in. We have Feder Joseph with us on today. And when I tell you all, Feder Joseph is the man. And I'm not I'm not trying, I'm not over exaggerating. He really is. This is my personal realtor. And he sold my husband and I our home. And when I tell you this man is awesome and phenomenal, he's a man of faith, which was very impressive because you need that on your side if you are a man or woman of God, of faith. And so his faith connected with the activation of your faith. I mean, it was phenomenal. And so the process was so home buying can be kind of scary because of all the things that you hear from people, and you'd be like, oh my goodness, the way they talk about the closing table it's like, oh gosh, he made it so easy. It was so simple. The peace that he brings to encourage you that is, everything is working out, it's going to be well. He knows the strategies and everything it takes to get you exactly what you need and what you want. And when I tell you that that process was all of just 1 month. When I tell you we were at the closing table, packed and ready and moved into that house in 1 month's time. But this is what he does. He has the anointing and the mantle for it. And I was able to recommend him to some other members of our church, Abundant Rain Ministry. He sold them their homes. I mean, Feder is just a man. It's Fed Man. That's why I call him Fed Man, so that's what he is. Amen. All right. So I'm going to go ahead on and get ready to turn this right on over. Y'all keep sharing while you all do it. Yes, Tamika, Feder, Tamika was up there. Yes, he sold me, hit my house. Yes, he did. And so now I'm getting ready to turn this right on over to Feder Joseph. He is, I'm going to let him share all of his accolades. I don't even want to get that mixed up or whatever. I don't want to get his titles mixed up or anything. All right, so Feder, take it away.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot, Apostle.
You're welcome.
How you doing? Okay, so I'm going to get right into it because we have a lot of information, and we have a lot to get through. And so first thing I want to talk about a little bit about me. Okay, Apostle said a little bit about what I do and how I help people. Our tagline here at FM Real Estate is that real estate is not about houses, it's about people, and we really do believe in that. I'm originally from New York. I always believe that people should know a little bit about the person that's speaking to them, so they know where to place them in regards to, I guess, who they're going to listen to. Okay, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about who you listen to a little bit later. But I'm originally from New York, and when I came down to Georgia, this was like in 2005. One of the things that I saw that was missing was the fact that people needed education. There was a niche there. People were buying houses. People were listening to people about where they're going to be placing their money. They were signing contracts. They were doing almost everything that you can think of to buy a house, but yet did not understand the process. And that, it kind of surprised me a little bit because as me, I'm a detail-oriented person. I read everything. And when I hear about, when I heard about people actually, spending thousands and thousands of dollars on things, on houses and land and property, things that really is one of the major decisions in their lives. Without knowing anything about the process, I made it a point to say this. I said that I will not take on any client unless they're willing to sit down with and have an education. Okay. Now, God had to get me to that place, of course. In the beginning, I just took anybody. But, I've been blessed. And since then, I realized that when I teach people about the real estate, the process is easier for them. Okay. And very important, the process is important, is very easy for me as well. So I sit down and I go, I teach real estate. I do seminars that's about 3 to 4 hours long. And because of COVID, unfortunately, we had to kind of like narrow it down and get it down to, at least an hour and a half of education. But we can get it done. There's a lot of information. Okay. So I told you I'm from New York. Why education? I kind of alluded to it because there was a need here in Georgia. But not only in Georgia, in all the states. We are in Louisiana, we are in North Carolina, and we're in New York. And everybody is not educated. Educated, they book educated. They went to college, they went to graduate school, but in regards to real estate, that was very, very lacking. So of course there's a niche. Okay. So let me get started. The first thing I want to educate you on is what the terminology is. When you go out there and you go with either myself or another realtor, they're going to be talking about what's called a seller's market and a buyer's market. What does that mean? It's important for you to know that, okay? Because you just can't go out there making offers without understanding what market you're working in. So a seller's market this is where we are right now. We are in a seller's market, believe it or not. And a seller's market means that there's not enough inventory out there. There's not enough houses for the amount of buyers that's looking for real estate. Now, you're going to argue with me. You're not going to believe me. You're going to say, well, Federer, what are you talking about? I mean, I'm online. I see thousands of houses. I'm driving by and I see houses, being built. I see people on, making offers. I see signs all over the place. But this is the way real estate works. This is the way you have to look at it. Okay, I'm gonna look at my hands. Okay, now I'm gonna say here that let's say it's 93,000 houses for sale in New York, in Georgia, wherever you're watching this from, right? 93,000 houses, and then I'm going to ask you, what are your needs, right? I really don't even care about your wants. I just want to know about what your needs are. And as soon as, because the needs are limiting enough, right? Once, let's leave that up to God. But the thing is that the needs are limiting enough. As soon as you tell me one thing, you're going to say, well, Federer, I want to live in Cobb County. As soon as you tell me one thing, it comes from 93,000 to maybe 800. Okay? Now, you say, well, 800, that's plenty of houses. I can't look at 800 houses. Okay, well, what else do you need? Well, you're going to tell me, well, it has to be in a good school district, whatever that means, right? All right. It has to have at least a 3-bedroom. And I don't want to pay no more than $1,200 a month. We'd be lucky after you tell me all that if we have 5. And what happens after I show you those 5, right? I'm going to take you to see these 5 houses. And what are you going to tell me? You're going to tell me, I don't like any of them. Now what? You're going to say, send me more houses. Well, there is no more. We just looked at 93,000. You told me what you need. We came down to 5. There is no more. The only way we're going to get more is if we wait, and sometimes you don't have time to wait, or you change your criteria. You say, well, I thought I wanted to live in Cobb County, but I want to move now within a month. So let me expand that to Portland County. Then we can get more housing. But eventually we're going to run out also. Okay. I say all this for you to understand that you gotta shop and understand the market that you're in. Now, so if this is a seller's market, Feder, why are you talking to all these buyers? Well, that's a good question. The answer to that question is that it's also a buyer's market. This is a phenomenal time in this year, last year, years coming up, because we really have a double market, depending who you talk to. But you're talking to me today, right? The reason why it's a double market is because the interest rates are historically low. It's never been this low in as long as I can remember. In decades, it has never been this low, interest rates. Now, it's important, it's all about education, so it's important to know what interest rate mean, because you'll listen to these somebodies out there, right? And we'll get to that. And those somebodies will tell you, well, you have to get low interest rates. And you say, oh yeah, I got to get low interest rate. But what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, interest rates, I'm going to give you an example, because I have a lot of examples, because I've been doing this for a while, and the examples help you to see it, right? It's like, when Jesus talked in parables to help them understand his purpose, right? That's what the Bible teaches us, right? So I'm going to teach you a little bit of parables, right? So it's a buyer's market because of the interest rate. What does interest rate mean? Interest rates mean that, I'm going to give you the example. Let's say you were buying a house that's $150,000, right? And you didn't want your interest rate, you didn't want your monthly payment to be no more than, let's say, than $1,100, right? So you found this $150,000 house, and the interest rate was about 6.5%, right? So now let me repeat that so you don't miss that. You're buying a $150,000 house. You want to pay about $1,100 in your mortgage payment. That includes taxes, insurance, everything. And then your interest rate is about 6.5%. Now, if the interest rates drop to, let's say, a 4% interest rate, right? That means that you can buy probably a $230,000 house and pay the same amount of money, that $1,100 per month. Okay, you see why I say that? So if the interest rates are low, you can actually afford more house. Okay, so for the same money, more house for the same money. So you was paying $1,100 for a $150,000 house at 6.5% interest rate, and when the interest rates drop down to a 4, you can buy a $230,000 house and still pay that same $1,100. That's a concept that you have to understand and you have to remember. Now, there's a lot of somebodies out there, right? What do I mean by that? I say this in the seminars. I say this. How many people know somebody? Raise your hand. You know somebody? Raise your hand. Come on. Who knows somebody? And some people will look at me and say, what kind of question is that? So of course we know somebody, right? Everybody knows somebody. But the reason why I say that way is because every single time I do a seminar, if I'm sitting down with people, they always tell me one thing. They say, somebody told me this, somebody told me that. And I said, I know that same somebody. They never have a name, right? They just are somebody out there that's giving you information. And you choose, for whatever reason, to believe it, right? Now I have people say, yeah, I'm going to believe my uncle because he's bought 4 houses in his lifetime. Wow, 4 houses, right? That's not enough, right? Every single time a month goes by, the real estate market changes. Now, of course, I can't talk bad about these somebodies, right? Because I already alluded to it. It's probably your uncle, right? It's probably your cousin. It could be your mother. It could be your grandparents. It could be your pastor, right? It could be anyone who's talking to you, right? However, I'm going to tell you to forget what they tell you, right? Because they only can talk to you from their own experience, right? They can tell you, well, Fedman Real Estate is a great organization to get involved with. Of course, I want you to believe that, right? But if they tell you, well, if the listing price is $200,000, Give them $100,000. They'll take it. They won't take it. Okay. Now, when they bought the house, they may have taken it, but it was a different market. You see what I mean? That's why it's important to understand about the market. The market tells us how we approach the deal. Okay. I gotta tell you, this is not a market where you negotiate price too much, because there's multiple offers, there's multiple people looking for the same house. A lot of times you have to go above the list price, but you have things to protect you. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But you got to go above it. But sometimes, most of the time in this market, I like to negotiate the closing costs, right? I like to negotiate the seller to pay you cash at closing. So if you're supposed to be bringing, $12,000 to closing, I'll try to get the seller to give you $8,000 to cover some of your closing costs, because that's cash in your pocket, as opposed to bringing down the price $5,000, right? It's $200,000 house. We'll offer $195. Well, if you want the house, you got to give them the full price in this market, right? So, and what's $5,000 over 30 years, 12 months? But there's a lot of people out there that don't want to pay full price, right? Even if it means nothing, right? I won't pay full price for anything, even if it doesn't make sense, right? So, those are the somebodies out there. So I am not talking bad about the somebodies, but I just have to tell you, you got to put some quotations around what they tell you, and you have to check it out with the people that you hire. Okay. Next thing, you have to know. Let me give you another example, another parable here. Now, let's say I was coming over to your house. I'm going to answer this question because I know you can't answer it. But I was coming over to your house, and I was lost. So I call you up and I say, can you give me some direction? Okay, because I'm lost. So what's the first question you have to ask me? Well, the first question you have to ask me is, where are you? Right? You cannot give me any type of direction unless you know where I'm starting from. Okay, that's the same thing in real estate. Same thing in real estate. So that when you come to me, and I get people to call me all the time, they say, I want to go buy a house, and my friend told me about you, and I found this house in Austell, and I want you to take me to see it. And I say, wait a minute, where are you? And they say, where am I? I'm in my house. I said, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, where are you? I don't know where you are. I don't know where you are financially. I don't know where you are in regards to your timeline in purchasing a house. I don't know where you are in your savings. I don't know where you are in your credit reports. I need to find out where you are before I waste your time, because it is a waste of your time, and before I waste my time as well. In order for me to give you a direction, I'll get a call. Somebody says, well, my credit is pretty bad, and somebody told me that I need to pay off all my credit cards. What should I do? And I said, I don't know. I don't know where you are. I have to run your report. I need to run your credit, okay, before I can tell you and give you direction. Now, that brings me up to the myths in real estate. I wear a lot of hats, okay? I rarely wear that realtor hat, that real estate hat. And I'm going to tell you, you don't really need a real estate agent or realtor to find a house that you like. Now, a lot of realtors would tell me, why are you telling them that? You throwing away business. But I'm not really throwing away business, because you need realtors for everything else. You need for the education, the counseling, the holding of hands as we go through the process, to explain everything about the process, to do the research of the backgrounds of the houses, to support you in the inspections and the closing. There's a lot. I can go on as far as why you need a realtor. But to find a house, that's changed through the years. Why is that? Because years ago, I mean decades ago, right, we had a book, right? And that book was full of houses, thousands of houses. And you came to a real estate agent. That's the only way you can find housing. You can come to a real estate agent, you look at the papers, the newspapers, or remember those days, and then or you look at that book that we have, and you would describe the house, and you would leaf through a few of them, and you say, yeah, okay, that's what I described. Let's go see it, and you buy the house. You wouldn't leaf through thousands of houses. You don't have the time for that. So you had to come to me, right? But what do we have now? Okay, what we have now is the internet, right? You see what we see. What do you need me for? you don't need me for anything other than what I just described before. A lot of times when you look for houses, a lot of my clients, they send me the house that they like. Because 60, I may sit down with you and I'll learn 60 or 70%, not even 70, 60% what you really want. The only person that's going to really know what you really want is you. So you're going to look at a picture, you'll say, hey, that's it. I may look at the picture, I say, I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll send it to them, maybe I won't send it to them. Or let me just send it to them and I'll send you too much and you'll get so frustrated because you're getting so much that you don't even like. Okay? So basically, you will be the one that's helping the real estate agent. Now, the reason why I said that I wear different hats because I wear what's called a counselor hat. Take the realtor hat off, the tie, the hat that allows me to sit down with you and teach you, the teacher hat. The myth breaker hat is my biggest hat. Right? That's a big hat. That's like this because that's the hat I always hear somebody told me this and I said, no, that's a myth. One of the myths is that you shouldn't pull your credit.
Well, I'm sorry, Feder. Can you go back just a moment right there? What was that hat? The biggest hat you said you wear?
The myth breaker. The myth breaker.
Okay.
I break
Got it.
Myth.
Okay.
Because again, you're gonna be educated by the masses. And it's going to take you in the wrong direction. Okay, so that's the myth breaker hat, and again, that's the hat that I've used the most because somebody's going to tell you you don't listen to him. You don't want to pull your credit because it's going to drop your score. Well, that's a myth. Okay, how can I help you if I don't know where you are? I have to pull your credit, right? And if your credit is 700 or higher, it's not going to affect it. Well, I mean, you can pull your credit 7-8 times in a 30-day period, and it may drop your credit score a little bit. You got 700 and something. What are you worried about, right? Now, if you got a 400 score, what are you worried about, right? It's so low. I mean, you can't get any lower than that, right? So there's the reasons why people don't do it right is very, very surprising. So right now, I'm going to continue on, but I'm going to continue on with slides. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And give me a second to get this right. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay. Now I'm hoping that you're seeing what's on my screen. And now I'm going to start a slideshow presentation. And you should see one screen, something come in. But basically, I'll start talking about it as it's coming in. It may take a few seconds to come in. Depends how slow the internet is running this today. Earlier it was running a little quick. Today right now it looks like it's running a little slow.
Right. We can see it though. Mm-hmm.
You do see it?
Yes.
All right, because I don't see it. Okay.
Well, it's a black screen, but we know it's just buffering. But it's coming.
Okay, so basically, the slide that's coming in is basically a slide that talks about. It's going to say, home buying in a nutshell. Again, I'm not sure why it's taking as long as it is, but it's home buying in a nutshell, and it's basically the home buying, condensed in. Now, one of the things that you know about you heard about real estate is several different ways to purchase house, so several different loan programs, and we talk about the down payment. And everybody really kind of heard about when we say down payment. And down payment is what the federal government says that you need to put down in order to purchase a house. And every program has a little bit different things different down payment programs. There is what's called a conventional loan. There is a FHA loan. There's a VA loan. There is a HUD. Let me see, because I still don't see it coming in. There is a HUD program. I think it's just about coming in. There's HUD program. There's Fannie Mae. There's foreclosures. There is short sales. There is resales. There's new construction. There's rent to own. There's lease to purchase. All these different ways to purchase homes. And you may have heard of one or two or three or four. I don't know which ones you've heard of, but there's all these different ways to purchase homes. Now, are you seeing that down payment screen yet?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, it's basically just a list of all these different programs that you can use to purchase a house. Like I said, foreclosures, there's short sales, there's the resales, there's the new construction, as I said, rent to owns, which I don't like, and lease to purchase, right? And then the first, I'm going to talk about each of them. The conventional loan is just as the name implies, it's a conventional loan. It's a loan where most people can buy with it. You need a higher down payment. There's somebody that's out there that's going to tell you need $20,000 to purchase a house, and that's ridiculous. You don't need it. Of course, you could buy a house with $20,000, $40,000, $60,000, but you don't need that much money to purchase a house. And I'm going to use an example for the conventional loan as a conventional $100,000 house. And I'm using that number. And if you're from New York, there's not a house like that available. But I'm going to use $100,000 just to show you how it's calculated. And $100,000 is an easy number to calculate. So if you were doing a $100,000 loan, you would, with a conventional loan, 20% is $20,000. So you could buy a house with $20,000. You can buy a house with $15,000. You can buy a house with $10,000, and you can buy a house with 5%, which is $5,000, right? So that's basically what a conventional loan is. It's nothing more than that. FHA loan is, I don't know what happened there. My PowerPoint just went out. Let me see if I can bring it back. Did you lose it as well?
Yes.
Okay, so
yeah, we're seeing some pictures.
Okay, so I don't know what.
A collage.
Yeah, I don't know what happens when you're dealing with technology. When you're dealing with technology, sometimes it doesn't work the way you need it to work at the time.
That's right.
But it's important. It's important for you to see it if we can get it up.
Yeah. We do see your other screen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, try to call it back up again.
Okay. Yeah, technology have a mind of its own.
Yeah, a conventional loan, like I said, is we're done with that. That's really a loan that you can take and you can put anything you want down. You can put a 20%, 50%. You can put 5% down as little as $3,000, and then you have the FHA. FHA is a loan where it's not really for first-time homebuyers. It is a loan where it gives you a little bit of a break. Anybody can use it. It usually draws first-time homebuyers. They allow you to put down 3.5% or $3,500 of your money as a down payment. So as opposed to the conventional loan, which the minimum is usually around $5,000. A rare occasion you can go down 3%, but in convention in FHA you can put down as little as 3.5%. So it's a savings, right? So $5,000 you bring down $3,500. So let me go into we talked about conventional. We talked about FHA. Let's talk about the VA. All right, VA is a military loan. So if you have a military background, you can purchase a house with basically 0% down. Okay.
Yeah, we used that one better. We had that one
Yeah,
better.
that's right.
It
So
worked wonders.
so the VA is basically they give you a break 100%, but you still have to put down your down payment, right? You still have to
Mhm.
put down, not down payment. You still got to put down your closing costs. A lot of times people forget that they think it's 0% and you don't actually have to have any money. So next one we can talk about is HUD. HUD is uh, that's a bad stigma about it. I don't know if you heard about HUD homes. HUD homes are
Okay.
homes where people always tell me that you got to watch where you live. They tell you where to live, or it's in a bad neighborhood, and that's not true. I mean, I've sold HUD homes in the best school districts in Georgia. Even $350,000 HUD homes in Dallas. HUD by definition is where your FHA loan that has gone bad. So if you bought a house and you spent whatever amount of money and you bought it through an FHA loan and then it goes under foreclosure, then it's basically considered a HUD home, right? It's basically considered a HUD home. It's nothing more than that. So if that's the case, it could be in any area, right? HUD could be in any area. So, but it has a back stigma. Years ago, HUD gave us $35 to sell those homes. We're not going to work that hard for $35, right? We're just going to put a sign. And most people knew that. The thieves knew it. So they came and they broke into the homes and they stole the AC units. They stole the carpeting. They took the carpeting out of the house, right? So when you went in there with your realtor, you saw a house that was demolished, and you said, "I'm not buying one of these houses," right?
Mm.
But that's that's because your realtor probably did not educate you, right? It was probably because you understood about the stigma about how HUD works. HUD, you have to understand how the HUD process works. Let's say I'll give you another example. Let's say you went into a HUD home and you said something?
Yes, excuse me, Feder. Would you like me to remove your screen until you get your
No.
slideshow pulled back up?
Okay, you could do that. You could do that.
Okay, because it's still sharing. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
you
it's
want
not
me.
personal. It's not personal
Oh,
stuff.
okay. Okay,
So
well
you
we
can
can,
leave.
yeah, leave it up.
Okay.
Okay, that's all righty. Mhm.
Um, so so let's say the HUD home that you went to look for or look at had the AC unit that was there. Let's say that the house was 20 years old, and that's not old for a house. It's not a car, right? So let's say you walked into this HUD home and the AC unit was there and it was working. What else did you purchase with this house? Well, the answer is that you purchased a 20-year-old AC unit, right? That may break down next year, next month, couple of months from now, who knows when, right? So my clients, when they go into a HUD home, because they got the education and they got the process down, when they walk into a HUD home, they are actually praying, please let the AC unit be missing. Why is that? Because they understand the process. If the AC unit is missing, HUD is going to allow you to replace it with a brand new AC unit that you probably don't have to worry about for 20 years. I would rather have that scenario than having the AC unit there. Okay, if the carpet, let's say, was filthy, right, and smelly, HUD is going to allow you to replace it, right? But if it's clean, and let's say the color is yellow, well then HUD is going to say you got to keep it, right? You got to change it with your own money. So you have to understand that when you're doing a HUD home, when you're buying a HUD home, although it's an as-is sale, HUD is not going to pay for it. Well, who's going to pay for it? You're going to pay for it. HUD typically gives you a house at a discount. So if the house was worth about $140,000, should I close this and start over? Let's say the house is worth about $140,000. They're going to give it to you, let's say, for $100,000, right? And if the AC unit is missing, right, they're going to add maybe $5,000 to that, and then you're going to have to then you're going to replace it, and they're going to roll that into your loan, right? So therefore, you're buying a house for $105,000 as opposed to $100,000. But I would rather have that scenario because, as I alluded to before, what is a house where you add $5,000 over 30 years, 12 months? It's not much at all. Okay, so that's a HUD home. All right. Another type of home that we can talk about is what's called a Fannie Mae house. Right. I'm doing all this by memory. Look at me. All right. So a Fannie Mae house is another branch of the government that owns houses. Right. And Fannie Mae, I would say 50 to 60% of the Fannie Mae homes are move-in ready. Okay. So when you go into a Fannie Mae home, you are going into a home where if it needs painting, they're going to paint it. They're going to change the AC if it needs changing. And when you move into it, it's going to be a move-in ready home. But because it's a move-in ready home, Fannie Mae wants a little bit more money for that. They're going to want something closer to the market value. All right. So instead of getting that same home that you got for $100,000, they may want that same home for $132,000. Okay. So that's a Fannie Mae home, right? But they both foreclosed homes. Okay. People sometimes don't realize that. They'll say, I want to go buy a foreclosed home. And I'll say, well, there's so many. There's HUD, there's Fannie Mae, and there's a regular foreclosure. A regular foreclosure is usually a bank-owned property. All right. A bank-owned property is so the bank owns the house, and this is where you hear that somebody's tell you to give them whatever they cut them $100,000 less than what they're asking for. Okay, so that's obviously incorrect. All right, that's a myth. Okay, so that's Fannie Mae. So another type of home, which I think is the better home in this market, is called a resale home. Resale homes are basically homes where somebody usually still lives in the house, and they are looking to move out because of whatever reason. They're looking to move out because they're an empty nester. They're looking to move out because they are they may have gotten a divorce. They may have lost their job. But they basically live in a house, and they taking care of the house. They're taking care of the house up until they're selling it, and for whatever reason they want to sell it. Usually those things are better taken care of because they're not empty, they're not vacant. Okay, these are the houses where we usually can negotiate a savings for you. This is the time when we go to the seller and say, my buyer needs a little bit of assistance, so we would like to have you pay half of their closing costs. Okay, that's a resale home. Okay, next type of home is a new construction, right? A new construction is, just as the name implies, is a new construction. It's a house where it's built from the ground up. You don't always get what you want when a new construction. A lot of people think they get what they want when new construction. I had a young lady that bought a new construction and was buying a new construction, and she thought that she was going to get exactly what she wanted. She fell in love with the master closet. She loved it. It was as big as a room. She could put all her clothes, shoes, everything. She just loved it. And then what ended up happening is that as they were building a house, they changed the way the house was constructed just a touch. They took about 2 feet away from the closet. But I realized that when we went there to measure it, because she's the one that called me, we realized that there was about 2 feet more in the whole bathroom, right? And so we went to speak to the builder, and the builder said, well, we ran into a problem with the model, right? The model house started giving us some problems. And when the model house started giving us some problems, we had to change the way we constructed the newer houses so that the buyers would not have that same problem. Well, of course, she didn't want to hear it, right? She said, no, I don't want to hear it. I want the closet that they promised me. Well, in the contract is written that they don't need your permission to solve issues, to solve problems. They have to solve the problem. So again, I had to take off my myth hat, and I had to put on my counselor hat. My counselor hat. So I started talking to her about, for an hour, I started talking to her about, the benefits and why we should go on with the deal. And eventually she did decide okay, let's go ahead and buy the house. Because I told her, you don't really want to buy a house and have the seller build the house with the problem, because really, that's really the only way you're going to be able to buy this house. All right. So then again, she realized that, we were right. And she decided that she's going to go ahead and buy the house. So that's new construction. Okay. So new construction, you got to watch it, because, you don't want to go and not be represented. Right. A lot of people go shopping with new construction, and they speak to a very nice person that's at the new construction site. They share them about their children, the schools that they go to, and everybody's getting so excited, and they end up signing on the dotted line without knowing that they really are not represented. So you're saying, well, Feder, what do you mean I'm not being represented? There is a realtor there, right? And I said, yeah, you are absolutely right. There is a realtor there, but it's called fiduciary responsibility. And what that rule says is that if you are making decisions, the decision should benefit your client. And your client at the time, when you're meeting that new person at the new construction, it represents the builder. So every decision that you make is a decision that represents the builder. Okay? So even if they throw in a new refrigerator, well, they threw in a new refrigerator just because they don't want you to bring your realtor. You bring your realtor, that's going to probably cost the builder, or may cost the builder a little bit more. Okay, so that's new construction. Okay, so the next one that you could buy, let's go by memory. Let's see. Let's talk about rent to owns. Okay, now if you saw my slides, and I apologize that this thing is not working. I'm still trying to bring it up as we're talking. But if you saw my slide, you will see a big red X on rent to owns. The reason is because it's not really designated to help out the general public. Now, because we're live, I'm gonna put some disclaimers on, right? So I have not met a company that does it right yet. I'm sure there's some out there, but the ones that I've been involved with, if I read those contracts, it leans heavily on the landlord, the seller, the owner. Okay, so and the way it reads, a lot of them reads is that you put down a down payment, you pay a little bit over rent that's going to be applied to your down payment, and you close after a certain amount of years, whether it be 5 years, 10 years, or whatever years that you close. Now, what ends up happening is that in the contract it says that if you default in any way, you lose everything. You lose your down payment, you lose your rents, and that's exactly what happens to a lot of people. Okay, because when they move in to these houses, they forget that they're supposed to be working on their credit. They forget, how important it is to be on time, because life happens, and life happens to a lot of people. And when life happens, it takes you by surprise. Now, this was a young lady, very professional, made a lot of money, and I explained this to her, and then she said to me, "Well, I had a good job. I've been on my own since I was 18. I pay my rent. I always pay on time." But the problem is that she did not handle her money right. And because she didn't handle her money right, she had a bad credit score. And that's the reason why she wasn't buying the same way, or the way we usually buy. She wanted to buy the rent to own. I warned her against it. And then she said to me, well, she's going to go ahead and do it. Okay. So she put down $7,000, and then she paid rent for about 3 years over a 4.5 year contract or 5 year contract. And what ended up happening is that she lost her job. Okay, so she lost her job, and she gave me a call, and she came into my office, and she came in crying. Okay, so I said, okay, what's going on? I put on my counselor hat and put on the couch, and then we started talking. And then she said the reason why she lost her job, and then she told me that she quickly turned around as a professional woman and got a job like 2 weeks later. But then she was 3 weeks late on her rent, okay? Because she lived paycheck to paycheck, even if she made a lot of money. And what ended up happening is that the landlord canceled the contract. They terminated on her. She was only a few weeks late, right? But then they canceled on her. They kept her $7,000, and they kept all the money that she's been paying for the last 3 years. That's the way these contracts. A lot of these contracts, I got to be careful. A lot of these contracts that I dealt with personally were written. So it's not a good idea to do rent-to-owns. I think that you should really get it right, do it the right way, and purchase your home. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with the rent-to-owns that sometimes people don't realize. So that's a rent-to-own. It has a big X there. Another slide that I usually show is that I understand sometimes people don't listen to me. They don't listen, and at this point, I'm gonna stop sharing and see if it comes up. That could be a reason why it's taking its time, and see if that speeds it up. Let's bring it back to the main screen. Okay, so that's a lot of the time people don't listen. And one of the slides that I share, I have a file cabinet in my office, and there's actually labeled "Don't listen to me," and it's filled with all these people over the years that don't listen to me. And I put all these buyers and sellers into that drawer. I don't throw them out because I have confidence.
Now we're not on that list, are we, Feta?
You are not.
We listen to you. Look, the Perrys listen.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I have to put people in there because they don't listen. I don't throw them out because really I do understand why they don't listen sometimes. And I know at some point the light bulb is gonna light up, and then they're gonna come running back, and then I'll still have their file, and we could start from fresh. However, again, people have to understand that you really have to listen to the people that you hire, okay? Because reason why things go wrong. Now, I understand another thing. I always like to ask this question also. Why don't people use realtors? I don't know. I meet people all the time. I'll say, are you buying a house? Yes, I'm buying a house, but my house is I bought a house, and I say, well, when did you buy a house? I bought a house a couple of months. Who was your realtor? I'm just interested. They say, oh, we didn't use a realtor. And I say, why didn't you use a realtor? And then, and I'll usually ask the class that, why don't people use realtors? And I'll give you the answer, because people tend to think that we are all billionaires, right? And I'll claim that I'm a billionaire in Jesus' name, right? But they, they'll say, we're billion, we make too much money, and we make a lot of money, and I'm trying to save money. And then I'll say to them, okay, that's fair. How much do you think you pay me to represent you? And then everybody would throw out all these different numbers. Oh, you get paid thousands of dollars, or you get paid a percentage, or you get paid this amount, or you get paid this amount. And I'll say, all right, let me give you the answer to that question. Well, how much do you pay me as a buyer if I represent you? And I'll put up my zero. You pay me nothing as a buyer, not a seller, but as a buyer. As a buyer, you chose not to use the expertise of a realtor, not to somebody to hold your hand, to understand, to explain to you your process, make sure you're not spending more than what you're supposed to be spending on inspections, repairs, or whatever, simply because you thought you pay us a lot of money and you want to save money. So in actuality, you probably lost money because you probably didn't get the best price, right? It probably took you longer to buy the house, so you probably lost a lot of time. So there's a lot of things that you lose when you don't use a realtor. Now I understand that there are bad and questionable acts in every industry. So I understand some people say, well, realtors, they sound like car salesmen. They're trying to get my money. I understand that. There's going to be in every industry. You could just tell me what job you do. I bet you I can find someone that has that questionable act. So you got to go with referrals. You got to talk to people. That's the reason why I like to teach, because I get people to start to get to know me, so they know where my heart is at. Okay, so that is the idea of a rent-to-own. There's another one called lease for purchase. Lease for purchase is similar to rent-to-owns. It is basically, you're basically going into contract to buy something in the future. Okay, so you're going into a contract and you're offering somebody a certain amount of money and you're going to close, 2, 3 years from now, a year from now. And I say, I don't like those either. It has a big X on it. And again, the reason why it has a big X on it because, I've done 13 minutes in my lifetime, in my career, and I've never really closed any of them. Because people move into these homes and they forget they're supposed to be living, they're supposed to be, working on their credit. And honestly, if you can't sell your house, if the seller can't sell their house in this market, then something is wrong. They either and a lot of times it's overpriced, right? The house is overpriced. It's not going to appraise. So they are hoping to go on the contract with you with a certain amount of dollar value and hoping that it's going to appraise in the future, okay? Or they overpay, they actually overpay on your monthly payment. Something is up if you cannot sell your house in this market, okay? So I'm going to try sharing my screen again. It came up, so I want to see if it actually works. I may have to do this the long way and do slide by slide. Let's see. Okay, so where was I up to? I was up to the rent. Well, I did rent to own already, right? This is my. Let me see. You see that?
Yep,
right?
we got it up.
I made sure like that, so we don't. It doesn't have to come in. Maybe that. So this is don't listen to me drawer. This is my lease for purchase drawer. Okay. So let me talk about upfront money. Okay. Upfront money is basically slowing down again. Upfront money is basically monies where you need to have it from the very, very beginning before you go out there and waste time and money, right? Upfront money is, the first thing you need is earnest money. Earnest money is needed usually on day one, right? $1,000, it could be as much as $5,000, even more when you come to new construction, right? But upfront earnest money is what's called good faith money, right? And you're basically saying, Mr. Seller, I love your house. I want you to take it off the market. I don't want you to offer it to anybody else. And I want to buy this house in about 30 or 45 days. And the owner is saying, okay, great, I'm going to take it off the market. I'm going to trust you. And then you give him $1,000. But you don't actually give it to him. You basically put it in what's called an escrow account. You're either going to give it to the lawyer's escrow or to the broker's escrow account. And they're going to hold it for you there until you close, right? So if you're closing, and let's say you're supposed to be bringing $5,000 for closing, they're going to tell you to bring $4,000, so that because they're giving you credit for that $1,000. You're never going to see that money again, but they're going to credit you, right? Instead of bringing $5,000, you're going to bring $4,000 to closing, right, for your closing costs. But the question I always tell people, you got to be educated in this, because can you lose that earnest money? Absolutely, you can lose that earnest money. That earnest money is good faith money. Well, if there's good faith, there's what? There's bad faith, right? So if there's bad faith, what's bad faith? Bad faith, you say, well, Mr. Seller, I wanna buy this house, and I'll give you $1,000 of my money, and I want you to take it off the market. Don't offer it to anybody, right? And the seller says, okay, great, I'm gonna take it off the market. Don't offer it back. I'm gonna hold it for you for about 30 to 45 days, and then time going on, you passing your due diligence period with the inspection period we'll talk about, and then the appraisal is done or whatever, and maybe a day before, 3 days before closing, you say, you know what? I changed my mind. Well, that's bad faith, right? You basically took away from the seller 30 or 45 days of opportunities that he could have sold his house, but then you held it, and then you changed your mind for no apparent reason, okay? At least no contractual reason. So therefore, you basically lose your earnest money, right? Now, the other piece is your inspection. An inspection is not required, right? It's not required in the state of Georgia or North Carolina or even New York. However, it is something that's very highly recommended, I hear this all the time when I tell people it's not required. They'll say, oh yeah, so I can save $450 because, I got Uncle Bob, right? Uncle Bob, he knows how to build. He's very handy. Well, I'm going to tell you, don't bring Uncle Bob to your inspection, right? Because your Uncle Bob is more likely is going to miss something. He can't see through walls, and the inspectors can't see through walls either. However, the inspectors are trained to look at symptoms as well as obvious defects. So you may see, so I actually had this happen. Somebody loved this house and it was their dream house, and then they saw water stains on the ceiling, all right, towards the windows. And they said, well, they have a roof problem. We don't want to buy this house. So we got an inspector, and the inspector came out and said, no, there's nothing wrong with the roof. Your gutters are dirty. Okay, so she was going to miss out on her dream house because of her dirty gutters. That's you can clean it out with $75, right? So the thing is that you don't take it upon yourself. You don't ask Uncle Bob to come over, even if you love Uncle Bob, right? To come over and inspect your house because it's something that you really need to have an expert to actually look at it, right? The last one, upfront money you have to have in your pocket is your appraisal. Your appraisal is needed 10, 15 days later, and it's usually $500 plus, right? So if you look at these numbers, it's not really that much money. If you add all these numbers up, it's about $2,000. If you have $2,000 in your pocket, you're ready to start. Now, why do you have to have it in your pocket? You have to have it in your pocket because let's say we went out to look at a house and you love this house, right? And I say to you, okay, I need earnest money because we got to show it. You can't say to me, well, I got to wait till Friday to get paid. The market doesn't wait for you. You can't say, well, payday is Friday. Same thing with the inspection, right? When you get, let's say you had the $1,000 and you gave me that $1,000, I could write it in the contract that it's going to be given in 3 days or so. But that's beside the point. Let's say we did an inspection. Inspection is needed, let's say, around day 3. So we have time to negotiate the repairs, right? So if I say we need to do the inspection, you say, and let's say there's a 10-day, we get 10 days to do it, right? And you say, well, I don't, and today's, let's say, is Saturday. And you say, I don't get paid till Friday of next week. You've taken away like 7 days, 8 days of my negotiation power. So we can't wait to wait until the check comes when we're doing these things, right? So you really should have at least $2,000 in your pocket. That part of it you can't get away from, all right? So you need that. Let me see. The next piece I talk about is closing costs. And closing probably slide probably come up in a few. The closing cost is really everything else, right? Closing cost is your lawyer's fees, the bank fees, the prepays, the HOA fees, proration fees, anything that you can think of that wasn't handled with everything else with a down payment. I think let's skip this slide and go back. So the closing cost is let's say for $100,000 house could be as much as $4,500, right? Now I don't want you to get scared with these numbers because I'll tell you later how we work this all out, right? Because remember, I'm on your side. I'm trying to help you. I represent you, right? So we, number one, we usually can negotiate that. I usually bring these slides in one at a time so you don't read ahead. But we can negotiate the seller to cover at least half of that, right? So if you were supposed to bring $4,500 to closing, if we negotiate half of that or more, then you're only responsible for $2,250 of closing costs. Let's say, yes, go ahead.
Fed, I gotta jump in here. Well, let me tell you something. He is a master negotiator. This man is the bomb. I'm telling you all, the monies that you think you're gonna need, you're not even gonna need all of that. I mean, well, I'm not gonna say that's every case. Individual cases different, but I'm telling you, he's definitely gonna get you. He's gonna do his job, and he definitely works for you. I promise you, he's amazing. Because I think better if I'm honestly, I've been sitting here thinking all this time. Honestly, I don't even think we had an enormous down payment, to be honest. I think we walked it was amazing. It was crazy. It was amazing. That's all I can say. At the end, we was like a surprise on our face. Like, what? we were getting money back. I mean, it was awesome. Go
Right.
ahead, Peter.
All right. Thank you much. Let me go back a little bit because you said something that reminded me of something. When the appraisal. Let me say something about the appraisal. This is a very good time that which we are buying and living in the sense for housing. Years ago, we had, when the banks, was questionable, and the lawyers, even the realtors were questionable. We had that foreclosure market. You had a time where you was going to buy a house, and your grandparents would probably tell you that you don't want to overpay for a house. Well, unless you're buying cash, you really can't overpay for a house these days. So when they tell you, I have people tell me, well, they're looking at a $200,000 house, and they'll say it doesn't feel like a $200,000 house, and I'll laugh about that. I'll say, how does a $200,000 house actually feel? But I say this to say that years ago, when you bought, let's say you found a house that was $200,000 listed for, and the appraiser came and said the house was only worth 180. Well, the bank would just look at your income and they would say, yeah, your income is high enough for $200,000. So here's $200,000. You can go buy the house, and of course, you overpaid for the house, and the appraiser who worked really for you, did not really want to. He wanted you to call him again, so he gave you. It was worth $200,000, whatever. A lot of things that happened that was shady back then, right? So you can end up paying more for a house. Now, if you found a $200,000 house and the appraiser came out and said the house was only worth $150, well, guess what? How much you have to pay for the house? You only pay $150 because the bank will only give you $150, right? So there's two ways things that can happen here. You either have the seller either has to bring the price from 200 to 150 in order to sell it for a good 6 months, because the appraiser is going to stick to the house, right? If it's the same loan, FHA loan, right? Or they just don't sell the house, or maybe you decide to buy it cash, right? That's the only way it can happen. So you can't overpay. So when I tell you to, somebody's looking to sell a house, give them what they want. I'm saying this because I understand the process. I'll give you another story. Okay, I had a young lady that went out. We found a house that was listed for $145,000, right? And then there's a line of cars outside waiting to see this house. So a very popular house. I said, what do you think about the house? She said, oh, I love the house. It's really what I want. And she said, well, how much asked me, how much do you think we should pay for this house? And I said, well, you really love this house? She said, yes. So I said, well, let's offer 145. That's the list price. She said, well, how much do you think it's worth? And I did my comps in the area, and I said, I really think it's worth about 135,000. She said, well, better, I don't have money to burn. If it was 130, if you think it's 135, why should I offer 145? And I said, please trust me, listen to me. And then she said, okay, I'm gonna listen to you, right? So we offered 145. The appraiser came out and said that the house was worth not even 135. The house was worth 130,000. And she looked at me. She said, "You told me to do 145." So I said, "Guess how much you're going to have to pay for this house? 130,000. Why? Because that's what the appraised value said. So the seller has to bring the price of the house from 145 to 130,000 in order to sell it, or you can't sell it to a person that has the same loan with you for a certain amount of time. And most people don't want to keep their house on the market for another 3 to 6 months just because they overpriced their house. So she ended up paying the house for 130. So what would have happened if she did not listen? And she forced me, because she cares, she's the boss, right? She forced me to offer 135, which I thought the house was worth that. The next person that was waiting online that offered $145,000 would have gotten the contract. And guess how much they would have paid for the house? $130,000. So it doesn't matter. It didn't matter. So what I did by asking her to to do 145,000 is that I guaranteed her the spot in the contract because we were first in line and we got it in quick enough. So there's like I was saying this to say there's a strategy. Okay. So now go back to that slide about the closing costs. So the closing cost is for $100,000 house could be about $4,500, and I said don't worry about that. Okay. We can negotiate with the seller in this market. They'll probably pay about a half. We're usually pretty good in doing that. Sometimes they don't want to pay any closing costs, but that's very rare, at least with family real estate, right? Because we negotiate down, we usually have good reasons why the seller says, okay, we'll do it, right? So we negotiate, so you only need about $2,250, right? And maybe the lender, depends on the lender, right? Some of our preferred lender, if you don't have a certain amount of money, they do something called lender credit. Increase the interest rates a little bit, but in this market, don't worry about it. They'll give you $1,000, so therefore now you only have to bring $1,250 to close it, right? But don't forget, you got $1,000 already in the deal, right? Because of the earnest money. So now you're down to $250. We almost eliminated the closing costs, you know. So people, you know, they come in here and I'll say you need about $4,500 or $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. They say, oh, I don't have that much money. I said, doesn't mean we can't buy a house, right? It means that we have to see what kind of deal we can get and see how much we can negotiate, right? So sometimes people spend 2, 3, 4 years saving $10,000, $20,000, and they end up not needing it, right? Of course, if you have it, some people out there will say, okay, well, you have it, you might as well spend it, right? But if you have it, doesn't mean you can't spend it. I still negotiate just as hard, even if you have $10,000 in your pocket. Now, you have to listen, right? I have another story. I had a client of mine, a couple. They saved up about $10,000, and I told them, okay, wait until we have our meeting. Okay, don't do anything. They said, okay, we scheduled a meeting about a month later. They came in and said, well, Fed, we can't buy a house now. We have to save up again. And I said, well, you had $10,000. You don't even need that much money, right? And then they said to me, well, somebody told me. As soon as they said somebody, I sat back in my chair. As soon as they said somebody, they said somebody told me that I need to pay off all my credit cards, all my collections in order to pay. So I spent $10,000 in paying it off. And I decided, and then we ran their credit, and we looked at it. They were only responsible for $1,500. So they spent $10,000 when they were only responsible for $1,500. So I tell people all the time, when they first meet me, stop what you're doing. Let me see you and find out where you are before you go and spend, and certainly before you start listening to the somebodies that's out there. So now, what other ways can you handle closing costs? Well, there's different types of programs out there. And I put this $15,000 grant program out there. It's not available anymore in Georgia, but it is in other states. So I kept it up there. But the $50,000 grant program used to be a great program here in Georgia, where they gave you $15,000 in order to purchase a house, and you don't have to pay it back. Okay, that's great. Now, let me go back to HUD. Because something keeps coming back in my memory. When we were talking about HUD homes, another reason why HUD is a great deal is because if you can find them, there's not that many HUD homes out there anymore. But you only have to pay $100 down. You don't have to pay in a HUD home. $100 down. Now, if you really love the house, I'm going to tell you don't put $100 down because that's the minimum, and everybody's going to do that. Right? So if you expected to bring more, you need to come in heavy. Okay, back to programs. So there's different programs that's going to allow you to purchase home. The $15,000 grant program used to be a program here. It's still available in some other states where they actually they give you $15,000 and you do not have to pay it back. Do not have to pay it back. So do you worry about the down payment? No. Do you worry about the closing costs? No, because they're usually already covered for you. They have the Georgia Dream program. I don't typically recommend that as much because by the time everything is paid, $5,000 doesn't really go anywhere. That doesn't even handle the fees of the lenders and stuff. Okay, but it is out there, right? And then they have in Georgia, they have a program called a Chinoa program. Chinoa is the down payment assistance program. So if you said to me, I have a little bit of closing costs, but I don't have no down payment. Well, guess what? If you qualify for the Chinoa program, we can get you a down payment assistance where they're going to handle your down payment, your total down payment, right? So that $2,000, maybe a little bit more, is only money that you really needed. You don't really need that large amount of down payment money if you qualify. USDA is usually considered, is usually called a rural loan, living in the country somewhere. And it depends on where you want to live. Some areas of Dallas is considered rural. Some areas of Douglasville, Macon County, different areas around Georgia. I'm from New York, like I said. I think all of Georgia is rural, but people argue with that. But they have certain counties where it's considered rural, and that means that they will help you with down payment assistance. So they will pay your down payment. So if your down payment was $6,000, $7,000, they will basically give you that down payment, right? And then there's different types of county programs that also comes along. All right. So next thing I'm going to talk about once it comes up is your debt to income ratio, right? This is the way the bank qualifies you for these loans, right? So the loans, one of the most important questions, and I hear this a lot. People come to me and they say that, they met a realtor and met a lender. They automatically want to know how much I qualify for. I don't care about what you qualify for. That's not the most important question at this stage, especially if you're a first-time homebuyer. The most important question is what? What are you comfortable in paying per month? That's the most important question. It doesn't matter that you qualify for $500, right? Because if you are not comfortable in paying that payment, it doesn't matter to me. Realtor may get excited about that, but that's neither here or there. They're not representing you if that's the case. The question should always be, what are you comfortable in paying per month? I had a client of mine that was here, qualified for $800,000. And then I said, okay, what are you comfortable in paying per month? And he said about $3,000 a month. I don't want to pay any more than that. Well, that's not an $800,000 house. So he said, I like to go to Europe every year. I like to buy new cars every couple of years. He had a plan. He had a life he needed to live, right? So just because he qualified for that doesn't mean he had to purchase a house. And that's what you have to, if you're a first-time home buyer, don't get excited about that. If your lender said you qualify for $300,000 and you look online, you say, oh yeah, beautiful $300,000, and no one has talked to you about how much that costs per month, do not get excited. Okay, don't go looking at $300,000 house unless you understand the payment. All right, so that's the example that's before you. The debt to income ratio is every lender usually want about 45% or lower. Right, an example I have here is if you made $3,000 a month in income and you had your debt, your revolving credit, $600 a month, car payments, credit card, add up to about $600 per month. They look at your monthly payment, not how much you owe totally when they calculate this. So you make $3,000 a month, $600 in debt, right? And then they'll take that $600 divided by the $3,000, and they come up with 20% debt to income ratio. And you say, that's great. I'm supposed to have 45%. Well, no, it's not great yet, because the next question is that what are you comfortable in paying per month? So then what they're gonna do is that you say, I'm comfortable in $1,200 a month. So now they're gonna take that $1,200, they're gonna add it to that $600, and now your new debt is $1,800 a month. Now, then they take that new debt of $1,800 a month, divided by the $3,000, and now your debt to income ratio is 60%. Now is above 45%. You do not qualify for $1,200 a month. It doesn't mean you don't qualify. Okay, a lot of times people, they get discouraged. It doesn't mean you don't qualify. It means you do not qualify for the $1,200 a month payment. Okay, so they'll deny it, but then they'll say, the good lenders will say, let me try $1,100. Let me try $1,000. Let me try $900 until it drops down below 45%, and then you're approved. And then they'll say, go out and find a house with $900 payment. $900 payment, well, what does that mean to you? Right? You don't know what that means, but it means a lot to me, right? I'll take my calculator, right? So I'll just take $900, take away that times it by 1,000 times the interest rate, divided by interest rate. And let's say the interest rate is 3.5. Right? I'll say, go out and start looking for a house that's around $160,000. Okay, don't go any higher, because if you go higher, then it's going to be more than $900 per month. Now, give or take, it depends on taxes and and insurance or whatever. So give or take. So we'll look at that. Same thing. If you qualify for $1,200 a month, I'm going to calculate. I'm going to tell you what house price range you should be looking for. Now, it doesn't mean you can't go higher. It just means that if you go higher, you have to change the comfort level that you said that you were at. So if you qualify for $500,000 and you say your comfort level is $1,200, and I tell you go look for a house that's $250,000, and you look and you say, I can't find anything $250,000 that I like because I have such great taste, right? Well, I'm okay with that, but it just means that your comfort level, $1,200, has to go higher, and as long as you're okay with it, I'm okay with it. Okay, so that's how the debt to income is calculated. Like I said, it has nothing to do with everything that everybody's telling that. Now, Apostle D, I don't know if anybody's actually asking any questions on your website.
Yeah.
If they are, if you could, I probably could go to it, or we can read it when we get to that. So give me another minute with the credit cards. Okay. Now, credit card.
Okay.
The credit cards is $1,000. Let's say it's $1,000. Just look at it since I can't point to it. Let me see. Maybe I could point to it. Yeah, $1,000. Let's say you had $1,000 line, and this person had a $500 line, right? What's in the eyes of the bank, the person that has the $1,000 line is the one that has a better credit risk. Okay. Now, if this person starts spending on this credit card and gets a balance of $900, right? Even if they're paying everything on time, this person, if they paying everything on time, now becomes the better credit risk. Why? Because now this person, $900 of the $1,000, 90% of the money that they are giving you, you are spending. So now they say, you live off credit, and that affects your credit score. Okay. So now this person, it's not that much better, but this person is only spending 50% of what's given them. So there, in this case, the credit score, if you look at that, if you look at my cursor, basically stays about the same. It may go up a little bit, but not much. So I'll get people to call me and say, my credit score is about 160, and I can't get it any higher than that. And I had one person told me that, and we looked at it, they had 7 credit cards. And that's not a problem. 7 credit cards is fine. Okay, don't listen to somebody and cancel it. But the problem is that every single one of them was maxed out. But she said, well, I pay everything on time. I said, yeah, but it doesn't matter. Everything is maxed out. So all that was wrong, all that we told her to do after we looked at the report was to pay it down to 20%. Once she paid it down to 20%, overnight, her credit score went up 80 points. Her next reporting cycle, 80 points. So look at my cursor again. I'm not telling you to spend up to 900 and then back down to 20, spend 900 and go back down to 20. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, you start at 0, you spend up to 20, back down to 0, up to 20, back down to 5, up to 20, back down to 10, up to 20, back down to 0 again. You stay between that. You have to keep your balance at about 20%. Okay. Now, some people are going to say 30%. I hate to get into the logistics. Okay, listen to that. 30%. I just know through my experience, when I say 30%, they go higher. So I say 20%, so between 20 and 30%. I always tell my clients 20%. Okay. So if you have the money, you need to pay it down to that. Okay. Now the last thing, this is the last slide. Okay, is student loans. Okay, student loans are handled a little bit different. Okay, student loans. Remember when I gave you that slide about the debt to income?
So, Fetter, I'm sorry to cut you off. Someone did have a question.
Okay.
You said you want to wait or go ahead and answer
this is what I'm talking about. You can go ahead and ask the question.
Okay, so Tamika White says, so she has a 2-part question. If you are looking to purchase a second home, can you use the same down payment programs?
Nope.
Or are you still able to use the loan? I mean, are you still able to use the FHA loan?
You cannot have two FHAs. You cannot use, once you buy a second home, unless it's a second vacation home, that's different. But most people, when they ask a question, they always ask me because they want to do an investment. Okay.
Okay, investment. Okay.
Yeah. And if it's an investment, you cannot use you cannot use a down payment assistance program. They call it assistance for a reason, right? They think you need the assistance, right? It's based on income. If you could afford to buy another home, you usually get out of you're coming out of that, right? So if you're buying it for investment, you can still buy the home. You can buy as many homes as you want, but you can't use those programs because those programs were not created for you, right? You may have to use more likely a conventional loan. It's similar to the VA. You don't use the VA loan on 3 different houses, right? So you could sell one and use a VA loan again. Same thing with FHA. But it's basically considered an investment loan, so you can probably use a conventional loan. Now, credit score is still important because you can get a better credit rating. You get a better rate, although it'll be higher than a primary. It'll be a better rate for your investment. Okay, so is that the only question on her? Okay, so so I came back to debt to income ratio, so I just talked to you a little bit about the student loan, which is my last slide. The student loan, basically, they look at it a little different. Remember, I was saying that they look at the other loan programs. They look at your monthly payment. So if you owe $30,000 on your car, right? They only looked at you're paying $250 a month, and that $250 a month is counted against you as a debt, as opposed to the whole $30,000. Now, with student loans, they look at the whole thing. They'll look at your whole loan, and they'll say, okay, let me see, you owe them $100,000. So I'm gonna take 1% of that, and I'm gonna count $1,000 as part of your debt. So if you look at the calculation here, when you look at you add your comfort level of $1,200, that brings you to $1,800 payment. They will add an additional $1,000 to that payment, so we'll make it $2,800 and count it as part of your debt. That's why for student loans, it's a little bit more difficult to get rid of that debt to income, as opposed, you don't just pay off, you can just pay off a credit card, right? But I can't just say, okay, come up with $100,000 and pay off your student loan. It's a little bit difficult. So there are ways around it if you fit it. One way is like, let's say you owe $100,000 and you had a zero, it was deferred, so you had zero payment. They still would have to take 1% of the total. Doesn't matter if you defer, right? However, if you start the payment, right, and it's amortized over a certain amount of time, and it looks like a true amortization, they can take that payment. So let me explain what that means. If they took the whole $100,000 and they counted $1,000 against you, right, and your debt to income ratio was like 47%, and let's say you started a payment and they require you to pay $350 a month. Well, they can take that $350 now and count that as your payment because you started it and it's amortized over a certain amount of time, and it makes sense. As opposed to using the $1,000, they only use the $350, and that way your debt to income ratio may drop below 45%, and you can get qualified. There's a lot of different. I can't answer. Would this work for me? Would this work? I would have to look at the individual and see what the whole story is all about. Okay, so that's in a nutshell. I know it's a lot, and I didn't get a chance to stop sharing. I didn't get a chance to answer questions like I usually do live, but hopefully you guys answer. You typed in your question. I'm gonna look at my page as well. Pastor, you want to let me know what kind of questions they have?
Yeah. Let's see if we have any more questions. All right. So you all can ask questions. You can put your questions down here in the comments if you have some questions for Feder. And also, Feder, I put your info in, so you can also type your contact info. You can place that there. Actually, let me put your website. What is your website, Feder?
It's Fed-Man Real Estate.
Okay.
Fed-man realestate.com. And, you know, having a unique name like Feder Joseph.
Yes, right.
All you gotta do is, I'm everywhere. You can just Google.
Exactly.
You know?
Right. Wait a minute, Feder. I like that, Feder Joseph. Right. Now, wait a minute, Feder. Say that one more time, though. Let me. Feder dash man. Mm-hmm.
Fed, F-E-D.
Oh, yes. Okay.
F-E-D dash M-A-N realestate.com.
Okay. Realestate.com. Okay. Let's see if we have any questions. Okay. Some people will be going back watching the replay as well. Right. So that's why I want to put the contact info here, and that way they can reach out to you later. Let me
it's also on the flyer.
I'm sorry.
It's also on the flyer that we put out.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Can I say one more thing? Okay. One of the things that I want to encourage everyone that's watching right now is to find out where you are. Okay. That means that whether you are using me or someone else, you need to get in contact with a lender and seeing where you are. Now, I have referrals. You can call me. You can contact me. I'll give you the ones I've been working for over 12 years. And what they will do, they don't charge you. It's free. Okay. Okay. Use that as an excuse, right? It's free. They're going to run your report. They're going to look at your credit. And more importantly, they're going to say this. They're going to say, you qualify or you don't qualify. But if you don't qualify, this is what you need to do in order to qualify. Sometimes you find somebody that'll say, you don't qualify, call me when you qualify. But not you may not qualify, but this is what you need to do to qualify. And then we'll hold your hand throughout that process. Okay. That's the point. I say this all the time. I say, if I go around the room and I say, who's buying next month, 2 months from now, 3 years from now, 6 months from now, everybody has a different reason, different time where they want to start. And I say, everybody's wrong. Everyone should start now. Okay. So the best thing that can happen is that the lender is going to say that you're ready. You don't have to do anything. And then you just say, okay, I'll call you in 2 years. But if they buy something, you may need a year or two to fix it. Okay. So find out now.
Okay. All right, Feder, there's another question. And this is from Pastor Shamik Burrell. Have you heard of the program that you get credit for your rent? I've seen realtors who say that rent can be used for credit.
Yeah, there is it's not really a program, but a lender, if there's no, and it has to be a specific way that you qualify for them to use that. It's called alternative credit. Okay. Alternative credit. That's not the first thing that they look at. Okay. If everything is messed up in your report and you say, okay, I'm just going to use my rent, you know, it doesn't happen that way. What ends up happening is that you're new to the state, you're new to the country, you just started graduation, you just finished graduation. There's buckets of which you fit into. I can't tell you all the buckets. And then they'll say there's no way for us to know what your history is like. So then what we're going to do is that we're going to use what's called alternative, and not all things do it. We're going to use alternative credit, where we're going to use your rent as one of your trade lines. Okay. See how you pay. So that's how that works.
Okay. Let's see if we have any other questions. Okay, we have another question. Do you have a preferred lender? Okay, they're asking, do you have someone that you prefer?
I do. I mean, what I can do is that, because I don't have people's email address, but if those people could either private message me or they could private message me, and then you can just send me the email and the question, and I could send you the link to that private to that preferred lender.
Yes. So better. Let me make sure I have.
You can work with anybody, but again, if you want a referral, we can give you a couple of people that has done well with us.
Mm-hmm. So Feder, let me make sure this is your email address, because you all can email. I'm putting his contact info in the comments. So the email federjoseph@fed-manrealestate.com.
Right. And I'll put it in the chat for you so you get it.
Okay. Yes, you all can email him as well. Now, Feder, I have a question just about credit cards. Because somebody told me, no, just play. I'm gonna give you time to put your myth hat on now. And so when somebody says someone say, well, just need clarity on that, because you do hear so many different things. But if you have credit cards and let's say they're old or whatever, and they have some better cards out now or whatever, you would like take advantage of, but you don't want to be having all these credit cards. So is it good? I mean, or does it affect you if you close out that credit card?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason why it affects you is because remember I gave you that example about the $1,000 line, right? And if you had if it was $1,000 line, and let's say you have $1,000 line and you owe $250, if you can follow me, let's say you owe $900, right? And you had $1,000 line, right? And then you had old credit cards, which maybe you use every now and then. But now the $1,000 line, because you have 7 credit cards, you actually don't have $1,000 line. You have a $9,000 line, right? So that $1,000 doesn't really affect you as much. If you cancel all those cards, then you have less of a maximum. Now, I say this to say that you can cancel cards. However, you have to do it right? So if you haven't used it, more likely they'll cancel it for you, because they don't like to just give out cards, banks usually. But if you have a card that you want to cancel, it depends where you are, right? Remember, it always goes back to where you are. If you're not buying a house for another 3 years, you can cancel it, right? It's going to go up in the next few months again. It may drop a little bit, right? And then it goes back up. But if you're buying a house this month, my recommendation is not to cancel it, right? You shouldn't do it because it's going to affect you now. But that's why I say to people if they say to me, "Well, I'm buying a house in 3 years from now. Why do I need to pull my credit?" Well, number one, we don't know where you are. But number two, if we do find problems, you can fix it. And number three, if it does affect your credit, you got 3 years for it to recover. You're not even going to need that. Okay, so that's why it's important to do it now. The excuse of I'm going to buy it 3 years from now, whatever, is not really a good excuse. Don't go through Credit Karma. All right, don't go through annual credit report. They're good to show you trending. They're very good in showing trending. But they use a different formula that the banks use, right? So they may show a 600 score and the bank's showing a 620. Okay, so but if it's a trending, it's good. It shows you good trending. That's one thing you want to look at. Any other question?
Wow, that's good. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? I don't see any more questions here, but do we have any more questions? Or you can email Feder. You can also like his Facebook page, Feder Joseph, but then you have what's Feder information? What's that one, Feder?
FedMan Information on Real Estate.
Yes, FedMan Information.
That's the business.
Okay, yes.
Again, you could just Google it.
Yeah.
Fed-Man Information on Real Estate. Because that business page is really just to give you information. It's not to bombard you with call me. It's just information. So I use that page when people want to learn about real estate. They just scroll out. Congratulations to people that buying houses. You'll see that. But a lot of the postings is about education.
That's good. Wow. Well, I'll tell you, this has been phenomenal. I mean, absolutely. And those of you that, whether you're just logging in or you had to log out and you're planning to come back and catch up the rest on replay, that's fine. Make sure you continue to share this though. This will be on Abundant Rain Ministries page. And you can always have access to this as well. Also on Abundant Rain Ministry Inc., Abundant Rain Ministry Inc. YouTube page under our community webinars. So you can always access it there as well. Reach out to Feder. He is amazing. Refer him. I mean, you will not be disappointed. And he really has a heart for the people. And I can attest to that myself, me and my family. And Feder sticks with you all the way to the end. And like we've had our home now for what? It's been 10 years now. He's still sticking with us. Yeah. Like if I still call him, I mean, you know, just about whatever. Like I've been in my home, you know, I'm calling about other folks' homes and anything, you know. And another thing that was awesome, Feder, that you did, and I don't know if this, you know, even meant anything, because you know you just have a big heart like that, and you really are here for your people. Is that I think something about when we first moved and the pilot light or something. I mean, when I saw him get down under that stove, lighting the pilot for us, I mean, I was like, wow, you know, after someone sells you a home, that's it, they gone, you know, like he was right back over here lighting the pallet for us or whatever, because we couldn't figure out what, you know, the stove situation. And so it was just amazing. Feder is awesome. So y'all make
sure. Now, realtors don't do that.
No, they don't do that. You gave me a list also. You gave me a list for the information for plumbers. I mean, you know, a lot of times they don't do that. They sell you
that relationship that we built. I knew, you know, we do it all. You know, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
They always tell us not to do things like that, but we end up, you know, when there was a need in that, and we had to build that relationship. I said, no, it was just too easy.
Yeah.
Let somebody else just do it when you need that help right away.
Yeah. Well, we certainly appreciate you, Feder, and all that you have done throughout the years, and even those that you have helped, that we have referred you to, they were satisfied as well. And so we appreciate your time and your servitude in the kingdom of God and to the people. And if that's it, you haven't, we can conclude unless you have any final things you want to wrap up with.
No, not necessarily. I mean, basically, that's basically what we presented. That's what it is. The contact information, hopefully you've gotten. If you went to my page, you can get my contact information as well. Don't be afraid to call me. You can call me. My office number is 678-324-1573. 678-324-1573. And you can go ahead and talk to my assistant. We can set up a time. We can even do a virtual meeting just like this, just between you and me. Because sometimes I need to do this with individuals because they don't really want to ask the question.
Yes.
And I'm okay with that. So we come back and we talk about you. Because everybody's situation is different. And we want to talk based on, you know, what you're going through and the need that you had. Some people are going through bankruptcy. We didn't talk about bankruptcy, right?
Yeah.
Some people are going through a divorce and they want to know if they should be doing this. It may be a legal question, but maybe that may be answer to you about your particular situation. So there's a lot of situation. So this is not just a blanket presentation. We have to for your needs.
Yes. Okay, Feder, one last time. Can you give that phone number one more time?
678-324.
Okay.
1573.
All righty. Okay, so you all have the phone number as well. And we're getting ready to close out. This has been awesome. Thanks for everyone that have tuned in, everyone that have shared, and everyone that will be going back to watch the replay. We appreciate you, and we pray and we hope that you have learned much on today and that you now have a compass that you can go by and a contact person by the name of Feder Joseph. Feder Joe is the man. All right, Feder, I think you got to cut me a couple of checks because I think I need some back pay too. So.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right. All right. Thanks you all. And we're logging off. All
All
right.
right. God bless you.
God bless you as well. Oh, I'm sorry, you all. I thought I had ended the broadcast.